Does the Bible have contradictions? Let's face it, if you're a Christian and you've read the Bible carefully, or you've had conversations online or in person with a non-believer, you've certainly heard the challenge that the Bible has contradictions. Well, anytime I hear some challenge against the Bible, I always ask myself, what would follow if this challenge were true? Try to place the objection in a larger context. So let me ask you a question. If there were contradictions in the Bible, would it mean that Jesus didn't rise from the grave? The answer is no. If there were contradictions in the Bible, would it mean that Jesus didn't take on human flesh and isn't God in human flesh, that the incarnation is false? The answer is no. Would it mean that all of Christianity were false? No. Now, does that mean the charge of contradictions isn't a serious one? No, it doesn't. We got to take it seriously. But let's think through what would even follow if there were such a thing as contradictions. Now, with that said, I don't believe there's contradictions in the Bible. Why not? Here's a few points that might be helpful. There's a huge difference between a contradiction and between a difference. So for example, when you look at the gospel accounts, you might have one gospel that says there's one angel. You might have one gospel account that says there's two angels. A contradiction. Well, that's not a contradiction, that's a difference. If one said there was only one angel, the other one said there were two, then we would have a genuine contradiction. It could be that one account is just focusing on one that matters for the reporting of that gospel. The other thing to keep in mind when you hear contradictions is to look at the context. So I've had people say to me, wait a minute, in Genesis chapter 1, it says that God created plants first and then animals, and then plants first and then human beings. You look at Genesis 2, it says human beings when there's no plants. But if you look in the context, you realize number 1 is talking about plants over the face of the earth. Genesis chapter 2 is talking about the kinds of plants that somebody cultivates in a garden. The context makes that come clear. Other times you have to look at the language and even do some research. So if a contradiction comes out and you hear one, get a book like Michael Licona's Why There's Differences in the Gospels. Get a book like Norman Geisler's book on Bible difficulties. And what I found, if you're willing to do the research and look into it, the charge of contradictions is so often overstated.